And we both sort of went through our deconversion process around the same time, but totally independently from each other. And it's been a fascinating journey to walk with Bart along this path. I'm sort of like following in his footsteps around different places. He hails from Cincinnati, Ohio, where he's building a secular humanist community among the community there in Cincinnati. Prior to that, he was in Los Angeles. He moved there deliberately to build secular community in Los Angeles, was the first humanist chaplain at the University of Southern California, and built an amazing group of students there, one of whom is with us today. Joey, many of you know Joey now. How can you not know Joey after being in the same room with him for more than like 5 minutes? And gave a talk today about what he's done at USC, in large part due to Bart's encouragement and mentorship. And then Bart and his wife have moved back to Cincinnati now, and he's building the same type of thing at the University of Cincinnati. So it is really with a lot of love and pleasure that I get to introduce Bart. He's going to talk to us today about love. That's what Bart does.
Well, thank you. I'm so glad to be, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good, good. I'm so glad to be here, but you must be so tired. What? It's only day one. Yes. I'm just, some of you, I went to dinner and I felt like I was like sort of going on a battleground. There were people laying on couches, just exhausted. But I appreciate your hanging in there. I appreciate your hanging in there, and I really am super glad to be with you. I'm excited. I'm excited about all of you. And I guess I want to start. I had an experience a couple of months ago. I got invited to preach at a big church in Seattle, which is a remarkable event in my life now. It didn't used to be. I used to preach in churches all the time. I spent 30 years as an evangelical Christian, minister and missionary. So I spoke on college campuses and Christian colleges and churches, but I don't get that many invitations anymore. But I did. I got invited to this church in Seattle. And the thing is that I knew this church. It's called the East Lake Church of Seattle. And 5 years ago, this was one of the fastest growing churches in the country. And it was like your classic evangelical megachurch, 5,000 members. They had a big facility and multiple staff, and they were doing all this stuff. And then one day the pastor, who was a young guy, decided that no matter what the Bible said, he needed to fully embrace the LGBT community. And especially he needed to embrace gay marriage. And so he just got up in church one day and he said, listen, I haven't really checked with anybody, but from now on this church is gay affirming. And everybody's welcome here. And I'm going to perform marriages for whoever wants to get married. And within the week, half of his congregation had left. And he was getting phone calls and threats and crazy. I mean, it was a crazy time in his life. The whole thing just blew up. And what was interesting is that half of his church left and there was confusion and stuff, but his staff loved it. The people he was working with, it turned out that all of them secretly had been upset about the same thing, but they had all been like, you can't say anything. I don't know what, everyone else is, and it was like the emperor's new clothes. When he said it, everyone was like, yeah, me too. And so the staff stayed with him. And people warned them, him and his little team of people. They said, look, if you keep thinking that way, if you keep picking and choosing your Bible verses and deciding what you think is really true and what isn't, is that if you keep thinking that way, pretty soon you're going to think your way out of Christian. You're going to lose your faith altogether. And of course, that's what happened. Is that they had all these conversations about what does it mean to be loving? What does it mean to be kind? What does it mean to live in the world? And slowly but surely they sort of worked their way to the place where they were all post-Christians. The funny thing was this, is that they still loved being together. And they still loved kind of getting together once a week and trying to help each other figure out how to be good people. And they still loved raising their kids together and trying to teach them the values that would help them to live whole and meaningful lives. They still wanted to be encouraged and help each other grow and do all that stuff. So the staff took pay cuts, and some of them took part-time jobs, and they just kept the church going as they left Christianity. And so it wasn't like one or two of them deconverted. Their whole church deconverted at the same time. And in the Stoic process, they didn't announce one day like, we're done with Jesus. As a matter of fact, if you look at their church thing now, they still say that a lot of them are pursuing love and using Jesus as their prime example, because a lot of them, like me, I'm not embarrassed to say I grew up in Christianity. Most of the really cool things I learned about life, I learned in the context of the church. Like, I grew up in Philadelphia too. I don't live there anymore, but I still root for the Eagles. And I don't live in Christianity anymore, but you know what? I'm proud to come from there. And I had a really good experience with a lot of good people there. Not everybody did, by the way. A lot of people get hurt in that world, but I sure didn't. And they didn't. And so they were in this transitional stage. So I went to their church. They invited me to preach, like this outwardly secular humanist guy. And I went and it was amazing. I mean, it's not 5,000 anymore, it's 500. But that's still a lot of people to be in one place. And I walked in there, and I mean, they had nice people standing at the door greeting people. So like I was warmly welcomed right away. And they brought me in and they got me something to drink and everything. And I'm watching, and people were sitting down there hugging each other and stuff like that. And then they started the service, and they had this kick-ass rock band. Like this amazing band. And they had people getting up there, and they were singing. Have you ever seen those like mega church worship bands? And they were singing songs like that, but they were songs you would love. They weren't like pop songs. They were inspiring songs about pursuing love and about building friendship and about making the world a better place. And I mean, and then they had like cool poetry readings in between. Not as cool as yours, but cool. And then they said, okay, it's time for all the kids to go off to Sunday school. And the kids all went off into this ring, and they had professional teachers there to teach the kids about asking good questions and answering them, like and figuring out how to share with one another and talking about relationships. So it was beautiful. And then they had a sharing time. And during the sharing time, they just asked people, so what's going on in your life? What do we need to know about in this? If we're going to love each other, what do we need to know about in the community? And people were talking about, we're protesting the immigration thing over here. And somebody got up and said, my mother's dying of cancer, and I need somebody to help drive me to the hospital. And people were, I'll do that. And they were just sharing their lives with each other. And it was not only thoughtful, it was smooth. It was polished. You know, have you ever been at an event where you just let like these people, like you go to a Disney musical and like they just know what they're doing. And these people, man, they know what they're doing. It was polished. People loved it. I loved it. I mean, it's funny. I sent a video around to some of my friends of me at this church, and all my friends wrote back and they said, "Oh man, that was so cool." And they said the tagline of that church, "We dig it." Because they had T-shirts and stuff, and on their tagline. And the tagline of their church was this. It said, life is a gift. Love is the point. Life is a gift. Love is... I mean, you can see it on a T-shirt, can't you? And all my friends were like, that's so cool, man. That's what we're all about love. And stuff like that. And I thought, yeah, that is cool. But then I started thinking about it. And I realized, like, yeah, they're still kind of in transition. Like, I don't know if I could wear that T-shirt. You know, because, like, life is a gift suggests that there's maybe a giver, and that would be hard for me, you know, like that idea that, you know, because I mean I love life, but I don't believe that there's anything behind it, or anyone behind it, and then love is the point. That sort of suggests that the universe, like that you and I, like we were created, like we were designed, intelligently designed, if you will. And I'm not really down with it. I mean, it's a cool line, but I don't think I could wear the T-shirt. But I get it. I mean, you get what they're trying to say, right? You get what they're trying to say. And life, especially sentient life. I mean, like, life is cool. Life is amazing, right? But, like, when you see, like, amoebas in a Petri dish, I mean, it's amazing, but it's not that amazing. I mean, you don't, it's not like going to Les Mis. You don't go, oh, I can't believe it. But sentient life, right? I mean, you've heard that word, sentient. I had to look it up. And what sentient life means is, it means the ability to perceive and respond to sensations, right? The ability to perceive and respond to sensations. I mean, and last night, I mean, like, Heather, like, I'm by the way, like, do we all have a science crush on Heather, right? Like we all want to be Heather, or to kill her rapper husband and marry Heather. I mean, she was amazing, right? But like, she was talking about the brain. But did you catch what she said? She's like, the brain is in the dark. I mean, it's not just our brains that are amazing, our bodies are amazing. I mean, like, because our ability to perceive and respond to sensations, the rest of our animal bodies are magnificent things. Eyes. I mean, just the way our eyes, I mean, if you ever studied the evolution of the eye, like over the thousands of years, where these eyes came from, and their ability to send these, to take light and to translate it into electrical signals that our brains interpret in this weird way. And ears. The ability to hear. And the eardrums, once again, like taking movement and translating it into electrical signals that we can interpret. Eyes, our ears, our taste buds. I mean, I almost died a few years ago in a bike crash. And people say, like, how did that change you? Like, did it change your beliefs? And no, I was already on my way out of beliefs. You know what it changed? It changed my perception of food. Because when you almost die, I mean, I remember when I sort of regained my faculties, eating, going like, oh my gosh, this food tastes so good. And I remember saying to my wife, like, this is just because I almost died, right? Like I wonder how long it'll last. I got to tell you something. The turkey wrap, it wasn't great, but it was still pretty astounding today. Right? Like seriously, just taste and hearing and eyesight and smell. I mean, I don't even know how to describe smell. I don't like what is the smell of a cut grass on a summer day? Because you know that isn't just the smell you're responding to. It's the memories. It's this crazy brain olfactory gland connection. I don't know. And your hands, touch. I mean, like, have you ever just looked at your hand and thought, I have no idea how this works? Right? Like, look at that. I'm not consciously thinking about which finger to move, but I move. And I feel. And it's like your hand, like, I'm talking about, like, the senses that come through it are amazing, and your ability to move it is amazing, and the correlation between those things. I mean, you are a wonder of evolution. I'm a wonder. These are magnificent things. But to be, I mean, that's sentient life, right? Like, and as awesome as that is, a pig has most of that. But it gets better for you. It gets better for me because we're human. And so we move through this world remembering and anticipating experiences. We don't just sense and respond to what's happening now. We sense and respond to what happened before, and we anticipate what's going to happen. We think ahead. We remember from behind. I mean, time. We're in it. And it's more than that even. We don't just experience the world. In our minds, we generate ideas and images out of nowhere. All the science that I'm using to explain this stuff to you, like, it all started out with somebody imagining, going, what if? Something that nobody ever thought before, and they thought it. And you do that, and I do that. Ideas and images and words and music. I mean, it's really something. I mean, to think to feel, perchance to dream. For you Shakespeareans, and what's the next line? There's the rub. That's right. And it is a rub. Because what he's talking about in that kind of dreaming is he's saying, like, I'm worried about dying. What happens when I die? And that's the downside of being human. Is not only is the awareness of pain, the awareness of suffering, and the awareness even of our own impending deaths. I mean, maybe that's the other reason I can't wear that t-shirt, Life is a Gift, because I have to tell you something. I spent most of my time working in inner city ghettos, and life does not always feel like a gift in the ghetto. I mean, I know y'all are all socially conscious stuff, but you are aware, are you not, that while you sit here in the splendor of Ohio State, in your fancy chairs, you know, with your nice box lunches, you know that most of the world would give their eye teeth to eat what you ate today, right? That for you, this was just a little day, but there's a lot of suffering out there. There's a lot of pain out there. There's a lot of poverty and oppression. And I know you guys are very sensitive to oppression. I know you're all left-wing caused up, and I'm glad you are. But there's more than oppression in the world. There's depression. There are a lot of people out there that have plenty to eat, and they go to nice schools like yours, and they are alone, and they are sad, and they are suicidal, and they are struggling like crazy, and they don't have a friend in the world. I was at USC. There's a fancy school, right? Like all these ultra-privileged kids paying $50,000 a year to get, to become the titans of the universe. And kid after kid that I would talk to, I would just stop a kid on the campus. We just start talking, and he'd say, yeah, I got this internship, and I got that grant, and I got this scholarship, and I got that. And I'd say, so things are going pretty good for you. And he'd go like, yeah. I don't know what it's all for. I have 10,000 Facebook friends, and I don't have a real friend in the world. So, I mean, you're aware of this, right? On your campuses, you are surrounded by people who the rest of the world goes like, wow, she's got it all together. And inside, there are a lot of people in a lot of pain. And so even when things, and things you go like, well, there are a lot of people in pain. I don't happen to be in pain right now. But the weird thing is, for those of us, even when things are good in our lives, we're always aware that it won't last forever, right? I mean, you're going to die. I mean, and you're secular. So when you die, you're dead. Okay? I mean, and that's a big deal. That awareness of death, by the way, which drives so much of human behavior, that's the price of awareness. The awareness of death is the price you pay to be aware of everything else. To be aware of the stars, and the dolphins, and the touch, and the loved, to fall in love with somebody, to be excited about a new show that you've seen. The price of being aware of death is the price of being conscious in life. And what I would say to you is as difficult as that may be to deal with, it is a good bargain. That is a good bargain. And you know how I know it's a good bargain? Because when people are at the end of their lives, even when their lives are full of struggle and stuff like that, when they're laying there at the end of their lives, you know what they try to do? They try to scratch for what? One more minute, one more breath. Like, let me stay in here. Because life, even when it's hard, is good. Yeah, in a real sense. Maybe Dawkins put it the best. He said, in a real sense, to be a sentient human is to have won the cosmic lottery. Out of all the matter and energy in the entire universe, you are part of the tiny percentage that gets to be conscious. And if you're wise, to be gobsmacked by the whole thing. Like just to be wowed by it, right? Like think about it. A 13 billion year process. That as far as we know, the highest and most complex expression of it is you. You're it, man. I mean, I'm not saying it's where it ends. I'm just saying it's pretty amazing to be here. And so maybe on my t-shirt, when I start my church, Instead of saying life is a gift, I'm going to say life is the ultimate wonder. And love? Oh, love, that's easy. Love, that one's easy. Love is the only response to life that makes any sense at all. Love is the only, and I'm dead serious. Love is the only sensible response to life. I mean, you say, oh, I know you're supposed to talk about love. They don't need to tell me to talk about love. I can't think of anything. Like, when I think about, like, what do you do with this gift of life? This gift from nowhere. But nonetheless, like, how do you even respond to it? The only response I can think of that makes any sense is love. You say, to love what? To love life. See, what does that mean to love life? Oh, and by the way, when I say to love life, because I know some of y'all, I know you're some rational people, and you're going like, don't get all touchy-feely on me, bro. And I'm here to tell you, I am not talking about emotion. I am not trying to say to you, you need to become emotional. No, make no mistake. The love I am talking about is a verb, okay? I'm talking about loving is something you do. So how does one do love? What are you talking about, do love? You want to know how you do love to life? I mean, for one thing, you courageously protect and preserve it. I mean, if you think it's amazing and wonderful, didn't they have courage up on the board somewhere? Right? I like the courage, because you courageously protect and preserve it, and you do everything you can to ensure that it long endures. I mean, that's what these women were talking about here. They were talking about, like, you know what? We're going to make life better for people. Women in particular, but of course, when you liberate women, who else you liberating? Everyone. Yeah, you're liberating everyone. Because whenever you break the chains of oppression, you don't just free the oppressed, you free the oppressor. Because the oppressor, that's a bad relationship to be in. You don't get the benefit of the woman when you've got your foot on her neck. Now, I know what you can say. What do you mean to preserve and protect life? Are you talking about environmentalism? Yes, actually, I am talking about environmentalism too, right? Because our environment is the thing that makes all this wonder possible. And I'm telling you, like, it can go away if we screw with it too much. And so, yeah, to fight for the environment, that's part of it. To fight oppressive systems that demean or diminish the lives of others, that's part of it. To fight against corporations and other entities that imperil the future of life, yes, that is part of it. Yeah, to do love life is to try to make things better for other people. But it's more than that. It's also to be curious about it. I mean, did you catch what she was saying last night? Because I felt like that was the message. And she was like, if you love life, find out, search it out, see how it works. It's amazing. The more you know, the more full of wonder and amazement you will be. Look deeper, ask questions, figure out how it works. And then I would add to that, and I think she did a great job of that, because she studied it. But then what was really amazing to me about her was that she expressed her wonder in such a compelling way that we were all like, tell me more. Tell me more. Oh man, you got me excited about life. Oh, the brain, I've never been as excited about the brain as I was last night as she was talking about it. That's a gift, boy. That's a gift. To express your wonderment, here's the thing, to articulate your gratitude. And it's funny, because when you're an ex-Christian like me, one of the most, it's funny, I brought a buddy with me, some buddies of mine came up from Cincinnati. We have a little community there we're building. One of the guys came up with me, and we were driving up, we stopped for lunch at this barbecue restaurant. I know, I'm sorry. No, that's my vegan shout out. And he said, we sat down and she brought us the food, the waitress brought us the food, and we're sitting there, and we go like, he goes, one of the hardest things about leaving Christianity is, I'm so used to saying grace before my meals. And I said, oh, dude, I still do it. He said, you don't believe in God? I go, oh, but I believe in gratitude. Before every meal, my family holds hands, looks at each other and says, I am grateful for this food. And we are grateful to be together and that we have a warm place to eat it in. We're grateful for the love that binds us here. And you go like, why do you do that? And the answer is Because scientifically speaking, if you express your gratitude for something, you end up appreciating it more. You enjoy it more. It isn't that happy people are grateful. It's that grateful people end up being happier. Because the act of expressing gratitude is scientifically proven to enhance the quality of your lives. Gratitude makes sense. That's why I say, like, loving life is the only sensible response. It's sensible for the world and for other people. It's sensible for you. It makes your life better. But if you really want to enjoy your life, if you really want to make most of your life, if you really want to love life, you've got to love other people. You got to love other people. I don't know how to say this more clearly. But I don't mean by that like protest on their behalf. I don't mean like that like sign the right petition. I don't mean wear a t-shirt that says you support them. I mean, if you really want to love life, the highest expression of life are the sentient human beings around you, and you actually have to reach out to them and connect with them and listen to them and comfort them and make sacrifices for them. And sometimes suffer with them. And sometimes celebrate with them when something goes good for them. And if they respond like they should, you've got to then turn around and let them love you back. And sometimes that's even harder than loving them, is letting somebody else love you back. I know what you're saying. You're saying, now I see why they invited him to preach at that church, because the fucker is still a preacher. I know what you're thinking. But I'm not here. I'm not here. I'm not here to threaten you with hellfire. I'm not here to tell you that you'll be punished and that you'll burn if you don't love your neighbor. I'm here to tell you that the reason to love other people is not because you'll be punished if you don't. It's because that's what you were made for. I know you're saying, wait, you're still there. I'm not. See, like that, when I used to say that when I preached. I said that. I said, you were made for love. I said that when I thought we were created by God on the sixth day. But it rings just as true to me now that I know that we are the product of 3.8 billion years of completely mindless evolution by natural selection. The fact of the matter is, whether God made you or you were made by like an incredibly bizarre natural process that you have nothing to do with, it, none of us could, and that was completely undirected, the fact of the matter is, you were made for love. I mean, I know that sounds like a Motown song. You know, like, you were made for love. But it's actually good science. Your brain and your body are tuned to respond to love the way, like, my car is tuned to, like, want unleaded gasoline. Okay? That's what it runs on. It runs best on that. You can put cooking oil in it. You can put Vaseline in it. You can put anything you want in it. But I'm telling you, it's designed to run on unleaded gasoline. And you were designed to run on love. Like, that is what will cause you to thrive. Your body, coming out of the womb, needed to be touched and held and moved. And if you weren't touched or held or moved when you came out of the room, if you were set to the side and left alone, you wouldn't be here today, because you would have died. And you wouldn't have died because you didn't have enough food or because you didn't have enough water. You would have died from a disease called failure to thrive. And what that really should be called is failure to be loved. You need to be touched. You know that if you ever worked at a prison, because if you ever worked at a prison, that's the thing that men suffer and women suffer from in prison, is they suffer from the lack of touch. And you say, wait a second, they're getting pushed and jostled and punched and stuff like that. Yeah, but your body is tuned to know the difference between a slap on the face and a caress on the cheek. And you need it. I mean, your brain needs it. When you were born, your mother's chemicals went crazy. And they dropped all kinds of endorphins on her. You know that love hormone? And you know why they dropped all those endorphins on her? Because evolutionarily, if they didn't, she wouldn't take care of you. And if she wouldn't take care of you, you'd die because you don't come out of the womb like a lizard ready to go. And the reason you don't come out of the womb like a lizard ready to go is because your brain is going to be so amazing. It's going to have hands and eyes and ears, and it would be too big to come out of the womb fully formed. So you come out of the womb with a brain that, as you found out last night, won't be fully finished off until you're about 25 years of age. And so we have to take care of you till then. And we won't do that unless you're cute. And you are cute. I was in a restaurant last night. After the thing, I went to Chipotle. And this woman came in there, and she had this little baby in a carrier. I don't know what that baby was doing up that late. But she gave it a bottle, and it started sucking on the bottle, right? It wasn't like a baby. It was like a bigger baby. And and it's sucking on this bottle, right? And James, you were there, right? And I'm sucking on the bottle. And I look over and I go like, that kid's looking at me. And she was looking at me. So I smiled at her. And she smiled back. And I was like, I stopped the conversation. I was like, oh my gosh, look at that kid. Have you ever been in a situation like where somebody, oh my gosh, look at that kid. And we're all looking at this little kid. And the woman got up to take her baby. I said, oh ma'am, I said, your baby is a flirt. And she said, isn't she? And I said, oh, that's a beautiful child. And you say, oh, you're such a nice man. Oh, no, man, you don't understand. I couldn't help myself. I love babies. And I love toddlers. And you know what? Give yourself half a chance, and so would you. Because you are hardwired by evolution to love little ones. Because we all have to protect the little ones in the tribe because they cannot make it without us. So they seem cute to us because the ones that didn't seem cute to us didn't make it. You see, that's cold. I didn't say evolution was a nice process. I said that evolution was a process by which you end up and I end up being human beings that desperately need to be loved. We are social animals. We are social animals by nature. We're not the only ones. Wolves are social animals. Elephants are social animals, right? Bonobos are social animals. And among all social animals, they all develop codes. And they all develop a sense of what's right or wrong. And what's right or wrong isn't what helps this bonobo or what helps that wolf or what helps that elephant. What's right or wrong always ends up being what's good for the group. Because social animals don't thrive as individuals. They thrive together. You were made to be in relationship with other human beings. That is how you naturally selected. That is why we rule this planet, even though we're not faster or smarter or nicer or have bigger teeth, nicer looking or have bigger teeth. We're not cuter. There are many cuter things than us. We rule because we cooperate, because we care about each other, because we bond. You were made for love. I don't know if you know this about yourself, but if I took a knife right now and I stabbed it into my stomach as hard as I could, involuntarily, most of you would go, and it wouldn't be that you would see me and consciously go, oh. What would happen would be your body, your eyes would be wired to your gut. And you would feel my pain and then figure out that it's not your pain, but that it's something you should worry about. You're hardwired for compassion. Not to feel for me, to feel with me. So that when I hurt, if you're in my tribe, if you're somebody who cares about, you will hurt. I mean, in Christianity, they used to say, to follow Jesus means to rejoice with those who rejoice and to mourn with those who mourn. And you say, oh, that Bible doesn't say anything true. No, the only thing that Bible got wrong was, that's not to be Christian, that's to be human. That's who you are. That's what community builds. Now, I got to tell you something. You say, no, man, that ain't me. That's you. You're all Mr. Touchy-feely. You know, like you're all like, you want to connect and you're like this extroverted, like empath and all that stuff. Like that's you, that's not me. And here's what I'm telling you is like, that's all of us. I'm just saying like for some, that capacity to feel with other people, to rejoice, to be excited when somebody else is doing well and to be hurt when they're doing badly, that capacity is in all of us, but it can be dulled if you want to dull it. If you put yourself in the wrong company, if you put yourself in the wrong industry, if you put yourself around the wrong people, you can dull it. And it can be cultivated if you want. See those two women, right? Did you notice that they were very similar in their vibe? And they were talking about their friends, and they said, oh, he made some friends in the movement. And I was with people who valued what I was doing, and I valued what they were doing. You know what they were doing? They were cultivating in each other a set of values. And one of them might go like, I don't know if this is all worth it. And then there would be 20 others around going, it is worth it. They go, okay, I forgot. You know? And then the next day it's the other one. I mean, that's how we are. Our capacities can be amplified or they can be dulled. And you want to know what running an SSA is about? Or what it should be about? It should be about creating a group in which you cultivate not just your courage, not just your curiosity, but where you cultivate your ability to care about other people. That's what community building is. It's like, I hate to break it to you. It's not about like debating Christianity. It's not about attacking people for their beliefs as if they chose those beliefs in the first place. I mean, it's so idiotic to make fun of people for what they believe. I was a Christian for 30 years, okay? And you know what, like the idea that you would want to make fun of my family and my friends because they believe, if you'd have grown up where I'd have grown up, you'd have believed it too. Everyone who was of any meaning and value around me told me that God was real, and it totally made sense in that context. And then I prayed, and the praying made me feel better. And I went on missions trips, and I had transcendent experiences, and it totally confirmed the experience, the narrative that I was in. So the idea that you're gonna create a group to like go like, we're smarter than you because we don't believe in God, ha, ha, ha. And like, you know, put up signs to make people feel bad for not believing in God. You can't build a movement around that. You can't build a group around that. But you can build a group around love. You could do that. Campus work, it's not about debating Christians. It's not about convincing people that not to believe in God. It's about convincing people who already don't believe in God to respond to the wonder of this life, to make the most of it by making things better for other people. And by learning how the whole thing works and talking to each other and figuring out how this universe works, and by loving other people. And that's what you should be doing. You should be building little communities on each campus of people that say, let's love each other. Let's love each other because that's what we were made for. I mean, that's what the science tells us. And let's read science books and have science lecturers come in. And after every lecture, let's ask the question, how can we use that information to have better relationships? How can we use that information to make the world better for people who are oppressed? How can I use that information to cultivate a deeper sense of appreciation for the privilege of just being human? You say, people wouldn't join a group like that. Oh, sure they would. That's your job. Your job is to go looking around your campus for people like you who can't believe in God but want to make the most of their lives, but who need support, who need encouragement, who need friendship. I mean, if I talk to one more college kid who tells me they've been at this school for a year or 2 years and they still don't have any meaningful friendships, I'm going to go to the nearby SSA and go and kick somebody's ass. Because that's what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be tabling, and not tabling to get in debates with Christians. You're supposed to be tabling to identify people that need to be a part of your group and go like, oh, we got a group. Oh yeah, nicest people on campus. Yeah, and we're pursuing goodness. Like, we're trying to figure out how do you make the most of this life. I mean, we're full of wonder. Like we're fighting injustice, and we're trying to figure out what it means to be fully human. That's what we're doing. You want to join? You see, you should be recruiting people not because your group needs to be bigger, but because their lives need to be better. You should believe that you have something to offer. You say, what do we have? We don't have the good news. You do have good news. The good news is that meaning and purpose and wonder and friendship, all of those things are accessible and available and creatable without any supernatural force whatsoever. You can have a life of, like, did you see those women? They're old women. All due respect. Old women who are still excited about life. Now you can go get a job and make rich people richer. I'm going to tell you something. By 60, you may have a really nice car, but you're not going to have a fire in your eye like that. That's when you live your life for love. And you've got that. You can offer that. So you see, I don't want you reaching out to people because you need them. I want you to reaching out to people because they need you. And you say, well, our group isn't that good. Well, then make it good. There only need to be 4 of you, 3 of you. It doesn't matter. Like, you commit yourself. We're going to read stuff. We're going to swap articles around. We're going to talk about how this scientific discovery, how we can use that, what this means, what are we doing about that? And you're always trying to bring it back to, like, how do we have better relationships? How do we enjoy this life more? How do we make the most of it? Because it's an incredible opportunity. I mean, all that social justice work you're talking about, that's great. But I got to be honest with you. I've seen college students for the last 30 years on campus like, fight, and then they get a job and they're done. I mean, if you want to sustain a commitment to those causes, it can't be rooted in a Facebook page. It can't be rooted in some book you read about sexual violence, right? It has to be rooted in relationships with real people. You actually have to know the people that you're trying to fight for. You need to know them. So, like, I know you're all up on the immigration thing, but how many immigrants are you hanging with? I know you care about gay rights, but have you sat with the trans people on your campus and really listened to their stories? Because what I'm telling you is that you won't stay active unless you're connected to the people that you're fighting for, and unless you're connected to the people that you're fighting with. I mean, sometimes I went to those rallies because I cared about the poor, and sometimes I went to those rallies because my friend Buddy, or my friend Matthew was going, and I was loyal to Matthew because he was going to give the talk, and I showed up for Matthew. Sometimes in activism you show up for the cause, and sometimes you show up for your people. Now, I know I'm over time. I'm practically done. But I'm not trying to sell you a bill of goods here. Relationships are really hard, and most of you guys probably feel a little inadequate when I start talking about all this love stuff. You go like, I don't know if I'm a good lover. And, like, I struggle in relationships. I've been friends with people, and then it hasn't worked out. Like, I don't know how to connect. I'm that guy you're talking about that doesn't have. And here's what I'm here to tell you is, look. Relationships are really hard. They take a lot of work, but they are not rocket science, okay? This is stuff you could learn. Like, there are books about listening skills, and there are books about positive touch, and there are books about boundaries, and there are books about forgiveness and stuff like that. Secular books, really good books. There are books about vulnerability. There are books about all the things you need to know in relationships. There are books about it. And what's more is there are old people that know what they're talking about. Not all of them, but there are some old people that know what they're talking about. And you should invite them to your groups too. You should invite people in that have good friendships and say, talk to us about your friendships. You have people that are good activists and that stayed with it for 50 years, and ask them, like, what do you have to do to work through conflict in a movement like that? Because you're going to have conflict in your groups. You're going to fight it out in your groups. So you're going to have to learn how to confront people when they piss you off. And you're going to have to learn how to apologize when you're the one. And you're going to have to learn how to forgive people. And bonobos know that. And wolves know that. And elephants know that. And every social creature has a way of resolving conflict. And we humans have largely forgotten ours because it's easier to flame somebody on Facebook and move on. But I'm telling you, secular student activism isn't just about, like, protesting. It's about becoming a group of people that love each other and that reach out to your campus and draw people into that circle of love. I'm going to tell you one story and then I'm done. Because it is hard work. It requires planning. It's a lot of stuff. We could talk about it. If you want to talk about it sometime, we will. Not tonight. One year I was at USC. At the end of the year, we used to have these dinners, these, kind of like potluck type dinners. So right at the end of the year, right before the end of the semester, we had our last dinner. And a lot of people showed up, because it's the end of the year and people wanted to say goodbye to each other. And usually I give a talk at those things. But at this one, I didn't give a talk. At this one, I just got up and we planned it out in advance. I said, look, it's the end of the year. So I just want anybody who feels like it, you don't have to, but if you feel like it, just share what this year meant to you. Not a year in SSF, not in our fellowship. That's not what I'm talking about. Just what did the year mean to you academically? You were here at USC for the year. Tell me about the year. First, people were sort of shy, like we secular people, we don't share. But then people started standing up. And the one guy got up and he said, I've been on this campus for 2 years, and I've been so lonely. And he said, when I got invited to this group, I didn't want to come. I didn't come for a long time. But then he said, I came, and he said, since I joined this group, for the first time in my whole life, I feel like I have friends who share my values, who are about what I'm about. He says, it's been amazing. It's the first time I've ever had friends in my life. Another kid stood up. He said, you know what, I've been at USC studying to be an entertainment lawyer. I was going to make a lot of money in Hollywood because that's what you do. But he said, one of the speakers we had in got me to read this book about this lawyer who fights for death row people who have been, particularly mass incarceration stuff and black folks that haven't gotten representation. And he said, I just applied to law school. I'm going to become a social justice lawyer. Another kid stood up and said, I was going to be a doctor. And he said, I'm still going to be a doctor. But he said, I was planning to do like plastic surgery or something like lucrative. But he said, we've been talking a lot about psilocybin and drugs and like the way in which they rewire people's brains to feel connected to the universe. And he said, you know what, I think I want to work with PTSD people. And he got accepted to Yale Law School, or Yale Med School. He's going out to Yale to study how to use psilocybin. And he's like, that would have never happened if we hadn't been having this conversation here. I mean, one by one, they got up and did that stuff. Some of them had changed. They're like, I'm a vegetarian now. Because, you get around a bunch of really serious secular people who are trying to figure out how to make the world a better place and who use data. And pretty soon, everybody's like, data says meat is a bad move. And so it's funny, a couple of them are vegans, a couple of them raised their hand and said, I'm not a vegan, I'm a reducitarian. You said, what's that? He says, well, it means I can't give up the meat altogether, but I'm cutting back. And I'm trying to convince other people to cut back because if everybody cut back, that would be good for the world too. One by one, they went like that. And then one of the ones I remember that was this one guy who said, listen, he said, I didn't want to join this group when I first heard about it because he said, I've been an atheist my whole life, and I don't need a group to help me figure out that I don't believe in God. But he said, since I've been coming, what I've realized is that this isn't an atheist group. This is a humanist group. It's about pursuing goodness in a secular way. And he said, you can't do that alone. You just can't do that alone. So he said, being here has really shown me that I thought atheism was a good way of thinking, but he said, what I'm really excited about now is a way of life. So after it's over, everybody clears out. I mean, it just went on like that. It went on for an hour. And after it was over, everyone cleared out, right? The leaders all got together. And I was sitting around with them. Joey was there. And I said to them, so what'd you think? And they were just like, none of these people grew up in church. They'd never been in anything like that. And they were like, that was amazing. That was crazy. And I said, yeah. I said, how do you feel? And I said, I feel great. I said, yeah, you should feel great because you did that. All those planning meetings you had, all those email blasts you sent out, all that cabling that you did, you made this happen. You created a context in which people came in and their lives were changed. They were transformed. You did that. I said, how do you feel? And they said, I feel powerful. It's a powerful thing to change another person's life. That is the ultimate expression of wonder for the universe. Yeah, I think I would say it this way. I would say life is the ultimate wonder. And love is the best, most natural, most sensible response to it. And I would say that you people are perfectly positioned to change the world by changing the people who can change the world. Thank you so much for listening to me. Thank you.